This Saturday, January 12th, is Feraligatr's Community Day. I bet you guys already knew that. What you might not know is how good Hydro Cannon Feraligatr is in PvE, which is Raid and Gym, and in PvP content. Well, up ahead is a clip from my livestream SwagTips where I cover just that. So this is a simulation, graphed out simulation of these water types versus Heatran. I decided to use Heatran so it's something more current and relatable. It's the fire type guy that we got going on right now. Level 40 against a Fire Spin Ironhead Heatran raid, no dodging with best friendship. So what you can see here right off the bat is that even with Hydro Cannon, Kyogre is still the master here, right? So you got like the level 1 thieves down here. You got like the level 10 hitmen. You got the level 35 mafia boss, Kyogre. Omega Chad water type Pokemon. Well, what are we going to do about it? There is a good thing about the Hydro Cannon Feraligatr, and that is that it does give us another option. So you've got Kyogre, which is kind of like the premium option. Maybe you don't have Kyogre, maybe you don't want to spend the rare candy and Stardust to power up a Kyogre, but you can get high level Totodiles to evolve into Feraligatr. Maybe you got some level 35 ones stored up from like a rainy day that you had, made the best out of your rainy day, and then bam, you just evolve it. And now you've got the second best water type for PvE content. Definitely nothing bad there. I do have these two Feraligatrs separated. We got the Water Gun Hydro Cannon and the Waterfall Hydro Cannon. For those that are familiar, I can see some people have been asking in chat here. Yeah, the Water Gun is a legacy move. And there's this idea right now that you might be able to use the unlock second charge move to get that move. But right now we don't have any confirmation on that. So of course, when the time comes, I'll try to update everybody on, the YouTube community tab and Twitter and Facebook. Let you guys know if you can unlock the Community Day move that way. And then you could get a legacy Community Day move for Feraligatr, which would be slightly better than the Waterfall Hydro Cannon Feraligatr. But I don't think it's that big of a deal to worry about, at least in PvE content. Nothing to get too worked up about. They're pretty similar. If you're curious about the Surf Manaphy I have here on the graph, in the current Game Master, Manaphy has Bubble Beam, which is pretty lackluster. So this is the normal Bubble Beam Manaphy that we're likely going to get somewhere down the line. But if the Game Master does update and Manaphy does get a better charge move, in this case Surf, well then that would put Manaphy on this level. And then all these Pokemon here aren't using the Hydro Cannon except for Blastoise. So just representation. Blastoise with Hydro Cannon, only as good as the other water types. So these are the water types that we currently have in the game, or will be getting, soon-ish in the game. Well, what about the future? Wait, they deconfirmed the second charge move? The dream is dead? Oh, so that's not happening? Well, who knows, really? Because, Niantic will say that, but then all of a sudden we can TM Shadow Ball on Mewtwo for, an hour or some nonsense, right? I guess pay attention to the Twitter universe when the event drops, because there might be some sneaky stuff going on. You never know. Alright, so then we got the future water-type Pokemon. We got all the starter guys. This is the Hydro Cannon Club. I guess, technically, Blastoise should be in the club, but Blastoise sucks, so he's got Hydro Cannon. He's not in the Hydro Cannon Club. And then we got a whole bunch of Pokemon that you've probably never heard about, may never even see. Like, we got Volcanion, Wishy-Washy with the Schooled form. There isn't a Troze for the Schooled form, so it's just the basic form, but this is using the Schooled form stats. We got, Primarina, never tried to pronounce it. We got Greninja, the normal Greninja, not the creepy Digimon Ash Greninja, just basic ye old Greninja. We got Keldo, which is part of the 3 Musketeer quad. It's the 4 Musketeer quad, right? Yeah, and then Samurott with Hydro Cannon, starter type Pokemon. So yeah, this is what the future has to offer. And one thing that's pretty consistent among all of these future water type Pokemon is that Kyogre is still the best. This isn't Origin Form Kyogre, this isn't Origin Pulse Kyogre. This is basic, run-of-the-mill, I use Waterfall and Hydro Pump. I almost said Hydro Cannon. If anything, if we're trying to get ahead of Kyogre and DPS, we do have Wishy-Washy Schooled form to look forward to. But that's all the way in Gen 7. And I think by then we'll probably have Mega Forms. And if you know anything about Mega Swampert will probably be the new dad of water types. But if we start getting into Megas, well then we're inviting Origin Form Pokemon and, Origin Pulse Kyogre and stuff like that. So if you are thinking about powering up a Kyogre instead of a Feraligatr, your investment will definitely be secured. Looks like a good, long-lasting water type investment. But if anything, catching that high-level Feraligatr definitely seems to be pretty long-lasting as well. I mean, these other Hydro Cannon boys are only as good as the Feraligatrs, so definitely not a bad investment in Feraligatr either. As far as gymming goes, right now, it's not optimal to use water types to fight a gym with, because Kyogre's got the single bar charge move that takes forever. You just slap in the gym with the waterfall, you're gonna KO most things with the waterfall damage, and then that Hydro Pump's massive overkill, so you're wasting your time using Kyogre. And then Blastoise is still too weak to really stand out as a good gym attacker, but Feraligatr kinda just right with that Hydro Cannon action. So yeah, definitely worth considering the Feraligatr for gym offense as a water type. Now then, PvP, the reason why people are really here, right? We could care less about anything with Pokemon and raids. We just tap the screen with 5 other people and win anyways, right? But the PvP arena, that's where the action is. If you're curious about the little goofy art here, this is from the Flork of Cows. Game Press paid the Flork of Cows to make all these meme images for the Pokemon, and since I'm part of the Game Press team, I have access to all the weird Flork Cow meme images, so may as well use them, right? May as well use them. So we got Feraligatr here, Great League Pokemon. So yeah, if you're thinking about Feraligatr in the Great League, it's immediately going to be compared to Blastoise, because they're both water-type Pokemon, they're both doing Hydro Cannon, they both have Ice Beam, they both basically have the same fast moves too, Blastoise has Bite and Water Gun. This guy's got Bite and Waterfall. Maybe Water Gun if the Legacy double move unlock thing is real. Now, the one thing that Feraligatr has to stand out from Blastoise is its access to Crunch. So Crunch, Dark type damage, might give it a little bit of mystique in the Great League. Well, unfortunately for Feraligatr, it's going to want to be sticking to Hydro Cannon and Ice Beam in the Great League, because there really aren't any major threats that it wants to hit with Crunch. For example, you could think of Cresselia, which is the only real standout Psychic type I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's Medicham, but it's fighting, so it doesn't count. So yeah, Cresselia I think is the only Psychic type you really have to worry about in the Great League, and both Blastoise and Feraligatr can overcome it with Hydro Cannon damage. It doesn't need Crunch to win that matchup, so I don't think the Crunch is really helping out in the Great League. And then unfortunately for Feraligatr, because of the way, CP and stats work in the Great League, I believe that Blastoise is just an objectively superior version of Feraligatr. Feraligatr having a really tough time in the Great League. I'd much rather use an Azumarill or a Lapras or a Hydro Cannon Blastoise than a Feraligatr in the Great League. So I'll talk about the Ultra League here. I will say I don't have a whole lot of details for you guys on the Ultra League because I've been focusing on my Great League and my Master League content. I've had the option to try to half-ass or try-ass all 3 leagues, but I decided to just, whole-ass each league, and unfortunately that's left the Ultra League a little bit untouched by me. From what I do understand about the Ultra League, I don't think that Feraligatr is going to be a really big Pokemon there. I mean, Giratina is the big threat. I did run a spot sim before the stream on it versus Giratina, and yeah, it does not have a chance. Giratina's got the Dragon Breath, the Dragon Claw, and this guy is just way too slow to keep up. I'm pretty sure that Blastoise is even too slow to keep up in the Ultra League with the Giratina, so yeah, if you can't take on the big daddy threat when you've got type effectiveness against it, then what are you doing? In the future, when I do develop my Ultra League content a bit more, maybe my opinion will change on the Hydro Cannon Feraligatrs, so when Community Day comes, might be mindful to keep a sub 2,500 guy in the back pocket in case he ends up being crazy good or something, but right now I'm really not feeling it in the Ultra League. So you might be thinking, Ryan Swag, okay, this guy doesn't do good in the Great League, he doesn't do good in the Ultra League, how the heck is Feraligatr supposed to do good in the Master League? It just sounds insane. And there's one big reason why Feraligatr might be a good option for you in the Master League, and that is because this big ugly red guy, Groudon. So yeah, Groudon is basically the defining monster of the Master League. Either you can beat Groudon or you lose to Groudon. That's the main deal there, because Earthquake is so dang powerful, and Mudshot gets Groudon to Earthquake so dang quick. So this is the Pokemon to beat. And turns out that with Waterfall, you're able to launch Hydro Cannon as fast as Groudon can launch an Earthquake. So if equal energy, equal tapping goes on, and you get to that position where you got to launch a charge move, right? Then there is a good chance that you will be able to overcome it. And all it takes is that one Hydro Cannon to knock this guy out of the park. Now, if there is the ability to unlock the Hydro Cannon with the Legacy Water Gun will be slightly better for the Feraligatr, because it will allow you to get to the Hydro Cannon one turn sooner. So I got some stats here, just put some stuff out on here. So like the energy gains of the different fast moves, and then the energy per turn. So how much energy they're getting you per beat of combat, because that's how PvP works. It's not by like second, it's by turns. And then here are the turns to the Hydro Cannon. Now you go down here and you'll see this is Mudshot and Earthquake. So it takes 15 turns to get to that Earthquake, 18 turns to get to the Solar Beam. So if you do have the Water Gun, if you are able, if Niantic blesses us or gives us an hour window of oopsies where we can get Water Gun with the Hydro Cannon, well, that will put you one turn faster than the Groudon, which will assure your victory against it. Now, if they don't, you do have Waterfall to work with, and that will put you at 15. So it's 15 to 15. If they try to go a little bit further for Solar Beam, or they like stop to consider, and no, they hesitated, well, then you'll be able to get them that way too. Feraligatr, awesome against the Groudon. It also has that Crunch and that Ice Beam too, right? So maybe it could help us against Lugia. Lugia is another Omega top threat of the Master League. And it's like the best counter to Groudon by far, because it resists everything Groudon throws at it, and it's Lugia, and Lugia is insane. So you might be asking, how good could this guy be against this guy? And I have to inform you that the Crunches and the Ice Beams just aren't enough to best the Lugia. So if you're trying to think of Feraligatr as being this Omega anti-meta Pokemon, well, I'm sorry to inform you that it can't do both jobs. It can't take out Groudon and take out Lugia. Now, if you are looking for a Pokemon that does do that, then something that's interesting to consider is the Weavile. Yeah, like you thought this was going to be some live stream talking about how great Feraligatr is? Psych. We're talking about Weavile now, right? Yeah, so Weavile, with the Ice Shard and the Avalanche, is able to get the charge move advantage on both Groudon and Lugia, and can knock them both out with the stab super effective Avalanche. And then, of course, in the future when Mamoswine becomes a thing, we're still waiting for Mamoswine to become a thing. It's winter. It's the year of the pig, and we got all these Piloswine spawning around here. When's Mamoswine coming? Mamoswine would be able to do Weavile's job a little bit more reliably in terms of countering both Lugia and Groudon. So that's something excited to think about with these Ice-type Pokemon, both in the present and in the future, for doing both jobs. Now, one thing that Weavile can't do that Feraligatr can do is take on some of the Pokemon that beat... How do I word this in a good way? If you think about rock, paper, scissors, and Groudon's the rock, and Lugia's the paper, right? So you got the scissors Pokemon, and Weavile kind of has a tricky time dealing with a lot of the scissors Pokemon, where Feraligatr is actually quite good against a lot of them. For example, you got Tyranitar, Metagross, and Heatran. So with the Hydro Cannon, obviously you're going to have an advantage on the Heatran, and then Metagross, you're resisting its Steel-type damage, so that's a pretty good boon for you. And then against Tyranitar, you're hitting it super effectively with Hydro Cannon, so what more could you want? You know what I'm saying? Now, unfortunately, as far as the scissors Pokemon go for balanced teams, Melmetal is the ace in the hole, in my opinion, the number one type Master League Pokemon. Definitely somebody you want on your team for the Master League. And yeah, eats this guy for breakfast. So a little bit unfortunate there. But if you are trying to build like an anti-meta sort of team, I think this guy, Feraligatr, could be a worthy consideration. Maybe a little bit risky because, you know, can't deal with the Lugia, gets dealt with in a really big way by the Melmetal, but it does beat down on the Groudon, and it does beat down on the things that beat down on Groudon. That was a clip from my live stream SwagTips. SwagTips streams every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Twitch channel SwagTips. If you got any questions on this content that you want answered, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well then make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. Short announcement, my regular streaming time is going to be changing to Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So usually it's on Tuesdays, it's been on Tuesdays, but due to my school schedule, it's going to be switching to Thursdays starting next week.